Do you hear the term Bitcoin a lot? Maybe passively understanding what it is, from a theoretical standpoint, but not really fully understanding why people care about it or what all the hype's about. Maybe you don't know what it is at all. Maybe you're wondering, why should I care? If you fall into either of these categories, I'm making this video for you. So having said that, let's jump right in. Hi and welcome to my channel, Coin Chief. My name is Ian, but you can call me Chief, because that's what everybody when I was in the military called me. I'm a retired U.S. Army warrant officer turned cryptocurrency fanatic. I'm making this channel to share information that I've found to be useful to me once I learned it with you in a way that's digestible and hopefully easy to put to use. I should tell you that nothing that I say on this channel should be construed as financial advice. It's merely me sharing my opinion with you, and you should absolutely do your own due diligence and do your own research. If you find this content to be useful, like and subscribe is always appreciated, and let's jump right in. Before we can fully jump into what Bitcoin is and why you should care about it, it's probably best to go over a short history of money, at least over the last several thousand years. Before gold, there's been several things that have been used as money throughout the world, including large stones, seashells, cattle, and salt, for a variety of reasons. But for many other reasons, these things were abandoned for the use of gold. Gold has been, for a long time, has been considered the hardest money on the planet, due primarily to its scarcity and the fact that it can't be destroyed. So all gold that's ever been mined is still in existence today, to my knowledge. However, gold was used for thousands of years as the main money for almost all major economies in the world, until the Bretton Woods moment, which happened, I want to say it happened in the 1920s. I'll probably link an article so you can look it up yourself. But suffice to say, this was an agreement amongst powerful nations in the world to change the way the financial system was organized. Now, this didn't completely do away with the gold standard, but it changed the way fiat currency related to gold, because fractional reserve banking had been a problem for a long time. And after Bretton Woods, the United States remained on the gold standard until 1971, at which point it was deemed unsustainable by President Nixon at the time for the United States to remain on it. So we've been off the gold standard since 1971, so now 50 years. Since then, the value of the dollar has suffered tremendously. I believe we've lost 97% of the spending power of the dollar. At this point in history, holding your savings in dollars is not all that advisable. That's why people seek out things like stocks, real estate, gold, and fine art, collectibles, anything that will maintain that store value over time. So, ending that my brief terrible lesson on the history of money, fiat money, and gold, where we're at today, you can see it in the news every day. We have central banks all over the world. They They can increase money supply basically at their whim. If you've ever seen the Zimbabwean $1 trillion bill that's useless, I know I have one here. I will probably dig it up and include it in the video. Someone gave it to me when I was deployed. But that's what happens when you just print fiat currency as much as you want. So that leads us into why you should care about Bitcoin. Bitcoin has a lot of similarities to gold. The biggest one that I think most people can relate to is the scarcity. Gold is scarce and it's difficult to mine, whereas Bitcoin is completely finite. There will never ever be more than 21 million Bitcoins in existence. There's approximately 18 million-ish in circulation right now. And there's approximately, at this moment in time, as of the time of recording this video, there's approximately 900 new Bitcoin come onto the market every day. Those Bitcoin go to miners who validate transactions that come onto the Bitcoin network. That's their way of compensating those who provide computing power to perform that task. But back to the scarcity, being that there's only 21 million of them, that makes it a completely definitively scarce resource. And if individuals find it any way worth putting money into, well, then that's anybody with a half a brain and that can understand supply and demand economics can see that will take the price very high. We are currently at around $36,000 per Bitcoin as of recording right now. We've been as high as 41,000 in the past 2 weeks. However, there are projections by people way smarter than me who believe that price will go much higher than that. We're talking by the end of this year, a couple $100,000 conservatively. By 2024, I've seen projections up to $500,000, and they go way beyond that. We're talking into the millions of dollars per Bitcoin. Having said that, scarcity is, I think, the first thing that needs to be understood about it. The second thing that I think the newcomer to Bitcoin should understand is it's completely decentralized. When I say decentralized, I mean, think of the old BitTorrent network. There was no BitTorrent company. When you wanted to share a file, the software would go find it and put pieces together from other computers, and you would get your file back. Bitcoin runs in a very similar way, only for money, and it's worldwide. There's no Bitcoin company. There is no CEO. There's no building for Bitcoin. None of that. If you can't haul Bitcoin in front of Congress, that's one of the best things about it. They can't stop it. It's a decentralized network of nodes and miners. The nodes are the ones who keep track of the ledger of the transactions coming onto the network. Each node, to my understanding, has a full copy of the entire history of the Bitcoin ledger, if you will. There's over 8,000 Bitcoin nodes in the world, and anybody can run one. in the future, I plan on running one, and I will do a video where I will go over it. Why not? I think it's a good thing if you believe in it, that you should run one. It's a way of contributing to the community. Mining is a little bit different. Mining validates the new transactions that come onto the network using GPUs, video cards on computers. They are rewarded with more Bitcoin for validating those transactions from the nodes. And it's in this way, it's a self-sustaining, self-feeding cycle. One thing that this network does is it takes care of the double spending problem. And the way that I can frame the double spending problem in a way that will make sense to someone that's used to fiat currency, which is, if you're watching this video, I assume it's you, or if not, here we go. If you take a $20 bill, a valid $20 US note that has a serial number, and you make a copy of it, a perfect copy that's undetectable, you could go spend the original note at one merchant and then take that copy to a second merchant, and you should theoretically be able to pass that off. Now, if that second merchant had a list of all the serial numbers of every US $20 bill in existence and was able to see that the other one had already been spent, well, then they would know. But because that's not really feasible, that type of thing only gets found out typically when that that $20 bill makes it back to a bank, or maybe they're able to detect a fraud, when you see them marking the notes up or whatever at a store. But Bitcoin, with its nodes and the validators validating transactions, you cannot double spend on it. It takes care of that completely. So that's another. That's one of the big benefits of it, is it takes that out of the network. The final thing to mention when it comes to the decentralization nature of Bitcoin is that changes to the core protocol require consensus amongst all members. And this is something that they do not take lightly. There have been situations in the past where there have been small groups of individuals within the community who wanted to make certain changes to the protocol that they believed would be beneficial to the overall protocol. Usually every time in these situations, any major changes like that have been shot down. What happens is when that splinter group will make what is called a hard fork. Think of, if you know software, like GitHub or something, you're forking a software. So you're breaking off at that point from the main branch of Bitcoin, if you will. There's been many of these in the past, and I plan on doing a video or videos in the future discussing some of them. Suffice to say, none of them have risen to the level of Bitcoin. There are several that are still in existence. Some are top 10 or 20 coins, but even with their, awesome changes, they're still not, they didn't overtake Bitcoin, and I believe that's why they would do it. They thought they had something better. They don't. The third thing that I think it's important for you to understand about Bitcoin is that large corporations, funds, etc. are pouring huge amounts of money into it, which is driving the price up quite a bit. If these companies didn't believe in Bitcoin, they wouldn't be spending this money to acquire it. There are companies such as Square, PayPal, Cash App, etc. that are just a small amount of them are buying up every Bitcoin that is produced daily. That means that there is fast coming a liquidity crunch, supply crunch, if you will, in regards to Bitcoin, which I believe, again, not financial advice, that will drive the price up very quickly, very fast. But that remains to be seen when that will happen. I plan on doing some videos on this specific topic in the future, giving you some more specific numbers. It's very compelling, but suffice to say, when miners produce new Bitcoins, they are not coming into the open market at all. They are all being bought up quickly, and there's just not enough new Bitcoin to go around. Something else I'd like to say about Bitcoin in general is just a word of caution. Watch out for fear type articles out there. There's a lot of this type of news that comes out. It's my personal opinion that these entities that put out this type of what you would call FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, they understand what Bitcoin is, what it could be in the future. They are doing everything in their power to, poo-poo on it in public, and most likely in private are just buying it up left and right. If you pay attention to any crypto news, you will see news daily of this type, and then we find out later that these organizations, these individuals hold a Bitcoin or have changed their mind about Bitcoin. Happens all the time. So don't believe everything that you read, hear, and see. Just understand the fundamentals, and I think that if you read enough into them, you will understand Bitcoin the way that I do, and most likely you'll never want to sell it. I know I don't want to sell mine. Now, I will say that the points I've covered here are not all-encompassing of the good of Bitcoin, if you will. There's lots of other good things about it, and I will cover some of them later on in different videos. I wanted to keep this video relatively short and, just a friendly conversation, me explaining the things I've learned about it so far and what has got me excited. If you want to do further reading about Bitcoin, I'll provide some links in the description to the bitcoin.org website, the Bitcoin white paper if you want to read that. There's an excellent article that I read when I first really got into Bitcoin by Robert Breedlove. It really explains very well why Bitcoin is awesome. Really, that's the one that really won me over, and I've just kind of been going with it ever since. If you really want to dive headfirst into Bitcoin and why it's awesome, pick up this book. It's awesome. The Bitcoin Standard by, I don't want to butcher his name, but I'm going to give it an attempt. Saifuddin Ammous. He's an economist. I believe he's a PhD. It's an awesome book. It goes over. I'll provide a link to that as well in the description. If you decide to purchase Bitcoin, if I've convinced you that with just this video that it's something you should be looking into, by all means, use one of my referral links to jump onto one of the platforms that I use. I have several exchanges and links that I have provided in the description. Those will be mutually beneficial to both of us. In many of them you'll get free Bitcoin once you spend a certain amount. Check them out. If you found this information, this video to be useful, you can thank me for my service by liking and subscribing below. It helps the channel and it's free. If you have any questions or comments, or video topics you'd like to see covered, drop them in the comments, and I'll get back to each and every one of you. The entire point of this channel is for me to share information with you and to share the good news that I find Bitcoin to be. I will cover other cryptos on this channel, but I will most likely be Bitcoin heavy because that's how I invest and that's how I believe. Until next time, I'll see you.